Cool. All right, so here's why you've hit a fat loss plateau and what it really means and how to break through it. So here's what a plateau is not. 1 week of not making progress, or even 3 to 5 weeks of the scale not moving. So a lot of people will check in every single week and then they'll drop. And then 1 week they don't drop, or maybe they gain a little bit of weight and they're like, oh crap, I hit a plateau. What do I do? That's not a plateau. That's just a normal fluctuation. Everybody goes up and down. As long as you're in a downward trajectory, that's when you know you're on the right track. But a plateau is not 1 week of making progress. It's not even 3 to 5 weeks of not making progress or the scale not moving. And a plateau is also not, the scale doesn't move, but your energy is increasing because you're getting more energy. So that is an improvement, and that's a direct result from exercise and eating healthy. So a plateau is not, the scale isn't moving, but you're lifting heavier in the gym. That is improvement. You're building muscle, you're getting stronger. So that is not a plateau. The scale, another thing that the plateau is not is the scale doesn't move, but you're sleeping better. That is also a direct link to getting healthier, is being able to sleep better. And then the scale not moving, but you are less stressed. So all of those indicators, if your biomarkers are improving, but the scale is not moving, that means you're not in a plateau. You're still making progress. It might not be the progress that you want to see, particularly, but it is definitely progress. So what a true plateau actually is, it's the scale just doesn't move for 4 to 6 weeks. So if you are following everything perfectly, if the scale's stuck for 4 to 6 weeks, then you're in a plateau. Then we have to make some changes there. So if you are in a true plateau, it means your photos also don't change during that time between 4 to 6 weeks. So if you take a picture on this week and then 6 weeks later, your pictures look the exact same, you might be in a plateau. And then another thing that is a good indicator that you're in a plateau is that your measurements aren't changing either. So if your measurements aren't changing, photos not changing, scale's not changing for 4 to 6 weeks, you're probably in a plateau. Also, if you're stalling in the gym, you're not lifting heavier, you're not getting stronger, and you're not able to push more, then you're probably in a plateau there. And then also your biofeedback. If your sleep, energy, fatigue, hunger cues are at a standstill, then that probably means you're in a plateau. Okay, so here's another catch, or I guess like the big catch and lesson of this whole presentation is you're still not in a true plateau if you're only half adhering to what you should be doing. So if you're hitting your steps half of the time, or if you're only hitting your steps some of the days, if you're doing 2 or 3 out of your 4 workouts, if you're only tracking your food on the weekdays and not on the weekends, if you're only half tracking your food and then also half eyeballing and measuring, or eyeballing and guessing portion sizes. So if you're half tracking with a food scale or measuring cups, and then you're half just kind of like eyeballing, that doesn't mean you're in a plateau. It probably just means that you're not being super accurate. If you hit so if you stay on track during the weekdays and then kind of go on track off the weekends, you're probably not in a plateau. You're probably just in this spiral of being in a deficit Monday through Friday and then a surplus on the weekends, and that kind of just evens out. And so you feel like you're in a plateau because you're dieting majority of the days, but the 2 or 2.5 days that you put yourself in a surplus even out the deficit of the weekdays. You're not in a true plateau if you only hit your protein goal 3 days out of the week, okay? If you're only sleeping 6 hours a night, or even if you're sleeping 7 to 9 hours on the weekdays, and then on the weekends, you're only getting 5 to 6 hours. So that means you're not in a true plateau. It just means you're not doing the things that you need to be doing to stay in a calorie deficit. And that is the thing that a lot of people struggle with, because our brains try to prevent us from admitting mistakes that we've made. And it's not really, we're not choosing to do that, but it's kind of what's happening by default. I think a good way to look at this is at the beginning of the program, did you see more results and then eventually stall? There's a couple things to look at here and do an honest check with yourself. Were you more motivated when you first started? Were you doing all of the things that you needed to be doing? Were you tracking your food religiously? Were you meal prepping? Were you eating more protein? Did you cut back on alcohol? Did you add in extra walks to hit your step goal? Did you do every single one of your workouts? And then as you got more comfortable in the program, you realized, oh, I don't really have to hit my steps every single day to still lose weight. So I'm going to just hit it majority of the days. Or I was so good at drinking my water, but now I'm letting that slip. And now I'm only getting like a half gallon a day. Or let's say I now know how to eyeball and guess portion sizes a little bit more. So now I'm just going to eyeball and guess portion sizes rather than actually weigh and measure and track them. So your brain just slowly starts letting yourself kind of slip away from those habits, and is a slippery slope. So I kind of talked about those there, skipping workouts, eyeballing and guessing portion sizes, having a couple extra drinks, and your brain starts noticing that you can still make progress by letting one or two habits go. And then you might not even realize that you're doing this, but then you look back on, or let's say you're 5 to 6 months down the road, and then you try to look back and you're like, holy crap, I'm not doing nearly half of the things that I was doing at the beginning of this program when I was seeing good results. But a few months down the road, if you let one or two habits go, then it turns into 5 or 6. And then soon you're not even really following the same program at all. You're kind of half following it. And you feel confused because you feel like you're doing all the same things that you did at the beginning of the program that got you there in the first place, but you're just not getting as good of results. But in reality, if you're truly honest with yourself, you probably just took so many unnoticeable steps away that you're just not doing the same things that you did when you first started. And this is called habit drift or adherency decay. So here's how to fix a plateau, AKA habit drift. So before you drop your calories or add more workouts, first check. Do an honest check-in with yourself. Am I tracking my food? Am I actually putting it on a food scale? Am I actually putting it in measuring cups and then tracking it, logging it, and then eating it? Or am I kind of just putting it on my plate, being like, yeah, that looks like a half cup, I'll log that. And how many times a week are you eating out? At the beginning of the program, were you eating out like once or twice a week? And now you kind of like go out to eat every other day, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. How often are you eating out? Are you actually doing your workouts, and are you actually pushing yourself in your workouts? I know at the beginning of the program, you're really excited. You want to get strong. You're really going into the gym with a purpose and a plan. Do you still have that same motivation and that same kind of drive in your workouts? Are you still pushing yourself each week? Are you still challenging yourself to lift a little bit heavier each week? Or are you like, okay, I've been doing this for 3 weeks now. I'm just going to kind of chill this week a little bit. Are you hitting your steps majority of the days? Are you kind of letting that slip and not hitting as many steps and just calling it good enough? Are you doing the things that you need to be doing to be in a calorie deficit? And then also a big thing that a lot of people don't think about is getting enough sleep. There have been studies that have been done that just by not getting enough sleep, the 7 to 9 hours each night, people will end up eating 200 to like 450 more calories on average each day because of cravings and of being awake longer and of your hormones not getting regulated. So you'll just crave more food. And so if you're not getting enough sleep, you don't give your body that chance to regulate your hormones, decrease cravings, and you'll kind of just accidentally eat a little bit more food throughout the day when you don't really need to. And then also another thing that people don't really think about is, are you managing your stress in a healthy way? Some people might need therapy. They might need actual professional help just to help them manage their stress and give them tools to be able to manage that stress in a healthy way. Other people can manage their stress by going out for a walk, being out in nature, kind of just being a little bit more grounded. Other people can help manage their stress. Sorry, I'm gonna get a drink. I have had a cough ever since I went to Hawaii. So it's been hard to do, to talk a lot or to do check-ins. Okay, so back to managing stress. So are you managing your stress in a healthy way, or are you kind of just shoving that down? Another thing that you could be doing is just journaling out your emotions, your thoughts, feelings, everything. Also, maybe talking to a loved one or a friend about something difficult that you're going through. So if you don't realize that you're so stressed, and if you don't manage that stress, and if you just shove it down, that can also be a reason why you're kind of stuck, because stress does play a huge role in fat loss. But however, if you are following everything perfectly, like you are following the plan to a T, then we might need to adjust the program. That's when we'll make adjustments. Sorry, I apologize. But that's when we need to make adjustments. That's when we need to move your calories down or increase your step goal, or maybe add an extra lifting day to the program. Or some people need to do a reverse diet. And then some people, in very, very rare cases, need their hormones checked. And I even hesitate putting that on there because I feel like everybody wants to feel like they are a special little butterfly and the program doesn't work for specifically them because they have a specific concern or something wrong with them. And they are special and they need something like specific. It's something outside of their control as to why they're not making progress. So that, and I say it in kind of like a joking way, but a lot of people kind of blame it on their hormones or blame it on something. Whereas if they did that honesty check that I talked about on a previous slide, it's more likely that rather than your hormones. But there are some people that have genuine hormone issues. So I don't want to minimize that either, because like people going through like perimenopause and all that kind of stuff can definitely, or if they have like a illness or an autoimmune disorder, hormones can definitely play a role in that kind of stuff. But for most cases, it's not a hormone issue. It's just an adherency issue. Or doing a reverse diet really only makes sense when you've been consistent, when you've been in a deficit and tracking for a while, and you're eating a low amount of calories and the scale isn't budging. And this is for my high stress clients. So we've only actually had 2 people out of the hundreds of people that we've coached have to start with a reverse diet. Sorry. I feel like I should like mute it when I'm coughing. So a reverse diet. And I don't know if any of you guys have gotten, okay. Kim and Melissa are familiar with a reverse diet. I'm not sure if anybody else on this call has done a reverse diet with us, but a reverse diet is basically where we get your calories back up to maintenance calories. So you can re-regulate your hormones, you can get more energy, and you're not in a calorie deficit anymore. And that only makes sense once you've been consistent or you've hit your goal, or you've been tracking for a long time. And so doing the reverse diet is really important. And once you have hit your goal, and then if you also are kind of just like running out of mental capacity with tracking, because I know if you're tracking long term, it can take a toll on your mental health. So doing a reverse diet is really good for some cases if you've been doing it for a while and if you feel like you've been following everything perfectly. So back to those 2 clients that I was talking about earlier. We've only had 2 clients who have had to start the program with a reverse diet because they were severely under eating. They were eating around like 11 to 1200 calories, maybe even a little less than that every single day. And the scale wasn't dropping. In fact, they were probably like gaining weight. And so their hormones were out of whack. They were both very, very stressed, dealing with family issues, divorce, stuff like that. So those are the people who we have put through a reverse diet to get their metabolism fired back up, to get their body used to eating normal amounts of food again. And then once you go through the reverse diet, then you can start another cut if you need to, if you haven't reached your goal yet. Okay, so here's the hard truth. Plateaus are somewhat optional. So if you are willing to take an honest look and see if you're doing all of the right things, and also another thing that goes into that is if you know what to look at. So you have to know what to look at to know that you're doing all the right things or not, right? So that's where your trainers come in, that's where your coaches come in and be like, look, I'm stuck, I don't know what's happening. And then your coaches can go through your calendar and be like, look, you're only hitting your steps like 3-4 days out of the week. We can bump that up to 7. And then maybe that increase in activity can get the scale to drop. Or look, you feel like you're working out so consistently, but you've missed probably 5 or 6 workouts this entire month. And so if we can get you hitting all of your workouts, or at least 99% of your workouts, then maybe you'll drop a little bit faster. So that's why you have us as a coach to give you an outside perspective. And so that way we can go off of facts rather than feelings. Okay. So if we look at the facts, like, hey, this is what you did, this is what happened, this is what we can do to get you where you want to go, rather than feeling like you're doing all of the right things, feeling like you're following the program. You could feel like you're doing everything right, but then we look back and we're like, oh, there's actually a lot of ways we can improve. So if you're willing to take that honest look and be like, okay, yes, there are things that I can improve here, and there's things that I'm going to do. And then also make sure that your adherence is 7 days a week and not just on weekdays. With your nutrition, workouts, sleep, cardio, and stress management, make sure that you're following it all the days rather than just the majority of the days. So if you're willing to follow the program 7 days out of the week, then that's when plateaus tend to not happen. Alrighty, so I know that was a full of like tough love there, but ask your questions. I'm sure you guys have some on this one. If you want to raise your hand, you can. No questions. Does anyone have any like thoughts on this? Does anyone think like, no, you're wrong? No, you're being too tough? Is there anything anybody wants to like fight me on this? Because I'm more open to a conversation and be like, no, like I've been following everything and nothing's changing. All right, Camry, let's hear it.
Oh, I just want to say, like, I completely agree with everything, because I was actually one of the ones that did have my hormones get messed up from stress, and I was doing everything right, and I got that fixed. But now I know my problem is I'm not doing everything correct. It's like, okay, I know I need to fix that again and measure accurately again. So it's like, that's my problem now. But so everything you've said, it's like, yes, dead on.
Okay, good. I know it sounds kind of like this presentation kind of sounds offensive, but like I'd rather just be honest and offend you guys rather than like have you be stuck and feel like you're stuck the rest of your life, right? I only try to give you tough and honest feedback because I care about you and I care about your success, and I want you to be able to take that accountability and internal look and be like, okay, I'm really not doing everything. It sucks because I feel like I'm doing majority of things right, but there are a couple things that I can probably do to get past this. But it's literally only because we care about you, we care about your results, we care about your progress, and we want you to have good progress and feel like your efforts are getting you the results that you want, right? And sometimes it's just like a couple little things that we tweak and then results start coming. Like if you're hitting your steps, like if you're hitting like 1,000 to 2,000 steps away from your step goal every single day, if we just bump it up, get you on like a 10-20 minute walk in addition every single day, then you start dropping, and it's just as simple as that. So there are a couple things that we can tweak to just get you to that next level and get you past a little sticking point that you're in. Alrighty, so anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns? No? Kim and Melissa, do you feel like you guys have ever hit a plateau?
No, because I just listened to what you said, and all the things in the beginning is what is not a plateau. So I think, there's that idea of like, oh, I'm at a plateau, but really, no, there are other things that you could be doing. It's not really a plateau, or you're seeing other things that are changing and improving, maybe not the number on the scale. And I think we get stuck on that piece of what the number on the scale is. But yeah, I could lift more, or, just feeling stronger, just feeling better. So I think there's, the other things. And the one other thing I was thinking about when I was listening is that before Kim and I joined the program, we thought we were doing the right things. We're eating healthy, we're running, we're working out, and we're like, but I couldn't lose any weight. And then as soon as we started the program, It's like you start tracking your food and you realize, okay, well, I wasn't eating enough protein. I'm eating a bunch of calories that aren't helping me. And so it's, it was realizing like why those plateaus were there before and we couldn't do anything is because we weren't doing any of the right things.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have an outside perspective and be like, oh, okay, if I just tweak these couple things a little bit, like I already have a good base, already like working out, already like eating healthy, but if we just tweak these, then I'll actually get results that I've been working so hard for. So that's really cool. Another client that I'm coaching, her name is Kelly, and her weight has stayed the same the entire program. However, she started lifting and started progressively overloading. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, I am so impressed. Whatever you're doing, keep doing. You put on 3 pounds of muscle since the last time we visited, and that is so good for your health. So even though it looks like from a scale perspective that she was stuck in a plateau, if you compare her photos side by side, you could definitely tell that she put on more muscle. And then her doctor even said, like, yeah, you put on 3 pounds of muscle since the last time I saw you. That is so cool. So I think that's another thing to be like, it's so hard, it's so annoying, and it's so frustrating when the scale doesn't move. But if we can highlight the other things that are happening, then you can realize, okay, I'm not actually in a plateau. All of my efforts aren't going to waste. Things are happening. So let's just keep like sticking with it, because even if the scale is not moving, other things are happening. So I think that's a good thing to remember too. Destiny said, that's exactly how I felt when I started the program. It was eye-opening how different my nutrition needed to be. Yeah, it is kind of crazy how you think like drinking one protein shake, like a 20-gram protein shake, you're like, oh, I have tons of protein. I have a protein shake a day. And then you realize like, oh, I'm only getting like 60, 80 grams of protein. I need way more than that, especially if I'm working out. Okay, cool. Anybody else have any comments to add? If not, we will do the wheel of names so we can get a winner of the fitness bingo, some supplements. All right. Has anybody here on the call gotten 5 days in a row? Amber, Cambry, everybody. So drop say me in the chat or something if you have. So I'll put your name on. Okay. Okay, we have Nicole Holly. Everybody else put a me in the chat. I think Cambry said yes. Okay, so all I have is Nicole, Amber, and Cambry, right? Cambry, you're yes. Okay. Nobody else? Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, everybody can see my janky wheel of names that has a lot of ads on the side. Okay, and this will be some Wella supplements. All right, Nicole, you are the winner. Congrats. Nicole, after this call, just go to wella.com and then pick out 2 supplements. Send me over the 2 supplements you want with a flavor and then your shipping address, and we'll send those out. For the rest of you, you still have a chance to win a walking pad, so keep up with the fitness bingo, because yeah, a walking pad is a really cool thing to have if you don't have one. I actually have one in my office, and it makes my work life so much more productive because I don't get distracted because I'm like stuck on the walking pad. So if I get off, it's like noticeable in my mind. I'm like, okay, I just got off the walking pad. I'm not going to turn it off because then I'll have to get back on. But it just kind of makes me feel like I'm stuck there. So I have to do all of my work in one place rather than like get up and go clean something or get up and go play with my cat for a second or check my phone. And so it's way cool because you're getting your steps in and then you're also more productive. And I just think it's fun to have a walking pad. You don't have to work on it. Obviously, you could just wake up and meditate. You could do some positive affirmations, whatever. And then it's also good to just like have in your place. So you can get up and go walk around when it's cold for like 5 minutes. Just hop on there 5 minutes, get off, hit your step goal. It's pretty nice. Okay, cool. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, all right. Well, congrats, Nicole. She just left. And there will be no coaching call next week, just a heads up. But I will see you guys in the group, and good luck with your fitness bingos.
Thank you.
Is Kyle still on here?
Hi.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Kyle, we have a question for you from Kim.
Oh God.
Oh, that's not a question. I just want to say go Niners.
You can go away right now.